we'll go ahead and go into distributors, pricing for distributors. So I am going to turn most of this over to Andy, since I am not in any distributors yet. We're working on it. So I will kind of turn this over to Andy. And what do you do for pricing for distributors?
Yeah, so we do pricing a little bit lower at a wholesale type of setup for obvious reasons. I mean, we're basically the first person in a line of at least three, that are going to touch our greens. Obviously, they have to buy them from us, then they have to turn around and sell them to whoever, which usually restaurants for the most part. So obviously, they have to make a profit, and we have to make a profit. So, but they also tend to charge a lot more than what we would charge. So there's definitely wiggle room. I mean, honestly, the wholesale pricing that we give in most cases, we're not losing much. I mean, maybe 50 cents to a dollar, on a pack roughly. And I'm not saying that'll work for everybody, but that's kind of where we are. Because I know that they're charging, so much more. I mean, they'll charge like $27, $28 for a half ounce, or I'm sorry, a half pound of microgreens, basic ones, which is crazy. So they're making a ton of money off of them. So there's no reason for you to have to, bring your prices significantly down in order to meet what they're looking for. And chances are, if you're starting with any distributor, they're probably already getting microgreens from this very large microgreen producer in California who their products are not great. They only last for maybe 2 to 3 days after they receive them. So there's a good chance that your stuff is going to crush them in quality. And even if it's the same price that they're paying already, because they also have to pay shipping, as part of those orders as well. So they gave me kind of their price structure at one point. So they're buying the greens and they have to pay per pack to have it shipped. I want to say it was like 50 cents or something like that per pack to actually have them shipped, which is insane. So, we were able to basically match their pricing and then give them a local product's going to last for 2 weeks, instead of 3 days. So they love it. The chefs love it because the chefs were getting tired of having crappy product that was expiring so fast, and they couldn't use it for very, very long. So it's definitely a nice thing. But with a distributor, it's a whole different animal. I mean, this isn't a chef. This is potentially hundreds of chefs. So you piss off hundreds of chefs. And that's going to really piss off the distributor. So if you come up short or you can't meet the order or whatever, I mean, you better make sure you have a plan B in case you get hurt or you get sick or whatever. Because if you're doing this by yourself and all of a sudden you land a distributor, I mean, the distributor that we had already, we just added 100 trays, like I said earlier in this podcast yesterday, to their already existing order. So if your system is not ready to handle 100 trays, you just say, oh, that's not that much. Guess what? It is, because you've got to order it. I mean, it was like $1,500 just in trays I had to buy. You got to make sure you have enough rack space. You have to make sure you have enough blackout trays. If you're doing blackout, you got to make sure you have enough humidity domes in our case, because one of the things they wanted was basil, so we had to like quickly wash, luckily my tray washer, I just said, hey, do these next, so that we were pumping out, clear trays really quickly to get them on top of the basil. But it's just, it's an animal that's really tough to tame. Oftentimes their salespeople who you're usually going to be working with are generally former chefs or current chefs. So they have that same, ego that regular chefs do. They have that same demand as regular chefs do. So it's really you gotta make sure your crap is in line before you get started with a distributor, because you may walk in and they may buy, let's say, $300-400 a week from you to get started, and in 2 months they could be buying $1,500 a week from you. So it can go very, very quickly. The first time when we boarded these guys, we added 12 entire racks worth of stuff. It was $13,000 out of pocket of supplies we had to buy before we even got started. No contract, no nothing. They could have dropped us the next day and we would have been out $13,000, between racks, seeds, trays, lights, everything. So when you're adding on a client like that, it's significant. And if you don't think your system is in place and strong enough, then don't go for them yet, especially if you're new or within a year even of getting started. If you've got some grocery stores under your belt and you're doing really well with those, and you know your harvest weights well, and you're really, really organized, and if you got all your systems put together and figured out, and you feel good about the whole process, and you've got a plan B in place just in case, then have at it. Go for a small distributor, and you can even approach them like that and just say, hey, I only want to start small. Let's just see where we can work in, and then build that up over time. You can totally do that if they're understanding of that. But the nice thing is they love local stuff. There's oftentimes things that you may be growing that they can't get, from the existing one. Like cantaloupe is a big one for us. They can't get that from their current people. But they're also already buying things from this other place, and they want us to start growing those things to replace that at some point. So, we're just literally waiting on the room to do it. We already know they want bull's blood and cilantro and parsley and a couple other ones that we've got to add to our repertoire at some point. We grow bull's blood already, but we suck at it. But hopefully Mike's video will help us out with that. But
yes,
yeah, distributors can be an awesome account. I mean, you're talking 50 to 150, $200,000 a year in one client, and it's one delivery. And that's the other thing. You got to make sure you've got some method to get the stuff there. You could easily fill 6 to 8 huge coolers worth of stuff to drop off one customer. So do you have a vehicle that can handle that? So those are all the kinds of things you have to figure out well before you start going down this road. Trust me, make sure you are totally ready to go before you take on this animal, because it can kill you.